You get triggered, someone says something, they do something, and boom, you feel it. Your chest tightens, your stomach drops, your brain starts spinning. Maybe you snap back or shut down. Does this sound familiar? And it's not just once that this happens, it's a pattern. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what this feels like? It happens over and over in different situations. And here's what most people miss about this: this is a trigger. That trigger, that thing that sets you off, it's not random at all. It is not proof that you're broken or too sensitive. Your trigger is showing you the pattern. Yep. Triggers are really important. They are the telltale marker. They go off, your body feels it. There's no way to deny that you're having a trigger. When your body gets all loud and you feel activated. I'm Jack Walker of Your Return Path, and today I'm going to show you how your trigger is the telltale sign to be able to identify a pattern that's running your life, so that you can finally break them. You have to see them first, right? So why are triggers so critical for you to be able to identify your pattern? Well, it's because the trigger is your body's response that is loud, and you feel it because your body gets all shades of discombobulated, and your trigger's undeniable. So why is a trigger such an awesome way to identify a pattern? Well, here's the deal. Patterns are running unconsciously. It's nervous system architecture based on a decision you made as a kid. And it's running unconsciously. And until we make the unconscious conscious, it will indeed direct our life, and we will think it's fate. Yes, that's a Carl Jung quote. It's one that I have used and stood on forever because it is the truth. And when I ask people, because I'm in the pattern breaking business, that's what I do. I created the pattern breakthrough method. And it's a way to break your patterns. But the biggest issue that I see is that people a lot of times don't recognize what their patterns are. Like I said, they're running unconscious. But when I say, what triggers you? What pisses you off? What makes you defensive? What makes you feel embarrassed or feeling like crying, right? You know what those things are. You know, a lot of times, how do you feel if someone dismisses you or dismisses your feelings or tells you that you're not feeling that? How do you feel if someone corrects you in front of other people? What does that feel like? How do you feel when someone asks you for help and you're already so overwhelmed? How do you feel? What happens in your body? What if someone doesn't text you back? You send an important text message, but you don't hear back from them. What happens in your body? What about when there's conflict or anger? What happens in your body? What happens for you? What do? Do you shut down? Do you fight back? You know the trigger. That is undeniable. You just didn't know what it's pointing to. So today, let's talk about that. Your trigger is your body's way to say to you, hey, there's a pattern running here. Pay attention, right? That is that reaction you're having, the tightness, the clenched jaw, the anger, the activation, the feeling of shame, defensiveness. That's not the problem. It's a signal. It's not a problem. It's so freaking awesome that our body is our ally, and it is taking care of us in real time. Now, all the times that we typically get triggered, oftentimes we'll beat ourselves up for the way that we act. And the trigger, because it's showing you something very, very important, it's showing you a decision that you made, a vow that you made that was picked up. in a time of great duress or distress as a child. And here you are 30, 40, 50 years later, maybe more, still running that same vow, or should I say that vow is running you. So let me give you some examples here of how triggers reveal patterns. Let's say there's a trigger where someone criticizes you or corrects you. Your reaction, you feel embarrassed, or you go into a shame spiral, or you get defensive. You start feeling like you failed, you messed up. The pattern this reveals is perfectionism. You have a pattern of perfectionism where you have to do everything right. And there is a vow that lives right underneath that. And that vow says, I have to do everything right or I'll be rejected. Right? Can you see? So the trigger, someone criticizes you, you get defensive, and you feel like you failed. And the pattern this reveals is perfectionism. Then you start to see, I'm always trying to do it right. And if I ever feel like I fail or I do it wrong or someone isn't happy with the way that I did it, then you get really either defensive or ashamed or embarrassed or you fight. But the vow, there's a promise you made underneath that. The vow underneath it is I have to be perfect or I will be alone. I have to be perfect or I'm not lovable. I have to be perfect or I will be rejected. This came from your childhood. Another trigger, someone asks you for help. Could you help me do this? And you're running. You're totally busy, totally overwhelmed, feeling like losing your mind. And someone says, hey, I really need you to do this thing for me. And you literally do not have the bandwidth, but you say yes anyway. Right? How do you feel when you say yes, you're totally maxed out? The last thing you want to do is the thing that you just said yes to. How does it make you feel? What happens in your body when you do that? You probably vent to a friend or just get pissed off. You feel resentful, right? You said yes. Someone asked you for help. You said yes because you felt like you couldn't say no. So you say yes, then you resent the shit out of them. Yeah, this is what we all do. And then and we just feel like we have to say yes anyway. Well, what pattern does this reveal? People pleasing. Yeah, this is one of the ones that I've played around with for a lot of decades till I finally figured it out. Until I finally figured out that, oh my God, I have a pattern of people pleasing where I feel like I have to say yes to everything all the time. Setting a boundary felt impossible to me. And then you have to look at the vow underneath, right? Because there's the trigger. Someone asks you to help them. You're maxed out. You say yes anyway. And then you go into a state of recognition. It's like, what am I doing? It's a pattern of people pleasing. It's a pattern of saying yes, even when you wish you could say no. That's a pattern. And every pattern is run by a vow that you made as a kid with kid logic. The vow underneath perfectionism is often, I have to be perfect or I'll be rejected. I have to be perfect or I'll be alone. And as a kid, the thought of being rejected, abandoned, or alone is life and death. You can't take care of yourself as a little kid. And this is how it works, right? Another trigger. Let's say you send that text message and they don't respond, right? You send the text message, they don't respond, and you feel so stressed out. You get anxious, you feel panicky, and then you start making up stories about what you did wrong. It's like, oh my God, I probably said it wrong. I should have done it different. They're probably mad at me or they don't like me. And the pattern that reveals is self-abandonment. making everything your own fault. Here's another really good trigger when you're in a conflict or someone is angry, right? And then you find yourself freezing, taking the blame, making yourself small, feeling like you have to do whatever you can to keep this person calm and happy. So you just go small in order to keep the peace. So you have a pattern, right? The pattern is going small, going silent, carrying the blame. And it's something that you learn to keep yourself safe. It's like, I have to go small. I have to take the blame or I'm not safe. It's a big one. So do you see how it works? The trigger is always the breadcrumb trail back to help you identify, oh, I'm triggered. It takes me back to something that you'll be able to recognize as the pattern, right? Self-abandonment, people-pleasing, making yourself small, not setting boundaries, all the things. So that's why it's so critical that you begin to pay attention to your triggers. And again, we have to make the unconscious conscious. That's the only place that we're going to have any power in this. You can try to willpower your way through behaving differently the next time somebody doesn't text back, or the next time somebody gets angry and you go small, or, the next time you find yourself in the same pattern over and over and over. And yeah, you can try to willpower your way into making it better, but it never works. It doesn't stick because it's force. This has to be an inside out approach. You literally have to identify the unconscious vow and understand why you decided what you decided. Go in, connect with that part of you that decided that. That's how you break the pattern from the inside. It's all about creating coherence with self. Because every one of these things that I just talked about is where we externalize our safety, we externalize our worthiness, we externalize our belonging, that it's all contingent upon other people and how they are with us. And literally what we're doing when we're doing that is giving our power away. When we make that person responsible, like if we find ourselves often saying, if they just act different, then I could be okay. No, let's go figure out why you keep going into a state of freeze and not standing up for yourself. So the next time that person does that and you do stand up for yourself, you'll actually be able to make a more educated decision, one that's more aligned with your truth, your worth, your value. And then you can decide whether or not you want to stay in that in proximity with that person that continually does that. But when you're caught in the pattern, you're going to keep reliving it over and over and over every day for the rest of your life, like Groundhog Day. And it sucks. It sucks. So let's just break it down. And this whole video is really about you understanding. This message is all about you understanding why you're doing what you're doing when you want to do it different. And we're talking about triggers, using a trigger to find your pattern. Because like I said, these things are unconscious, right? Your patterns are running from a vow you made as a kid has been running for decades. You're not even thinking it. It's just your body's doing it. It's nervous system architecture, these patterns. So that's why when I'm like, what patterns are running you? People are like, I don't know. So that's why we're talking today about you using triggers to find your patterns, right? So I'm going to just break it down in some steps. Step one, this is what I want you to do. Step one, I want you to notice when you're triggered, okay? Not just, I'm kind of having a blah day. I mean triggered. When you have a body reaction, you have a disproportionate emotional response to whatever is going on, and you can feel it. You can feel that activated state happening in your body. That's step one. Notice the trigger, right? Step two, ask yourself the question, do I react this way a lot? If you answer yes, if you see this reaction happening over and over and over in different situations. It is a pattern. Step 3, you're going to now name the pattern. What are you doing in response to this trigger? Saying yes when you mean no, that's a people-pleasing pattern. Beating yourself up is a perfectionism, self-criticism pattern. Shutting down is a self-abandonment pattern. Over-explaining or defending, that's a I'm not enough, believing I'm not enough pattern. Trying to control everything and everyone, that's a safety and control pattern. So that's step 3. Step 4, ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I don't do this? That question right there reveals the vow, right? What am I afraid will happen if I don't do this? For example, if they don't say yes, they'll leave, right? What am I afraid will happen if I don't do this? If I don't say yes to everything, they won't like me. They won't want me. They'll leave. The vow is I have to please people in order to belong, or I have to please people in order to be safe. All of the vows always sit down in the survival, like it's life and death feeling, right? So another on the step 4, when we ask ourselves, what am I afraid will happen if I don't do this? So if I'm not being perfect, someone could think, well, if I'm not perfect, I'll be rejected. And the vow, right? That self-decision that you made as a little kid, if I'm not perfect, I'll be rejected. The vow is I have to be perfect to be loved. Another one is if I don't fix this, if I don't get this all figured out right now, everything is going to fall apart. The vow that lives connected to that is I have to control absolutely everything in order to be safe. And once you see the vow, you can break it. But you cannot break what you cannot see. And your triggers are what make the pattern visible. So there you go. So the shift is, realize this. Most people spend most of their life trying not to get triggered, managing reactions, breathing techniques. Just let it go. Love and light your way through it. It's exhausting. And it doesn't work because you're trying to manage the alarm instead of breaking the pattern. Here's the shift. Before, you're like, ugh, I'm triggered again. Something's wrong with me. After, oh, I got triggered. What pattern is this showing me? Let's find the vow and break it. Your triggers aren't the enemy. They're the map back to freedom. Let me say that one more time. Triggers are your map back to freedom. So what triggers you? Pay attention. Notice what your body is doing. Your body is your ally. Notice when you're doing the same thing over and over. It's not weakness. It's information. It's data. It's where your body is showing you the pattern. And if you would like help finding the pattern and breaking the vow underneath it, come and do a free pattern breakthrough session with me or my team. The first one's on us. We'll start with your trigger, find the pattern and the vow. The link's in the description. Let's turn your triggers into breakthroughs. Your life is waiting for you on the other side.